Basketball, I had no natural ability in, but absolutely none. But it taught me to not be comfortable and then to really, really try to learn something.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Rooted Sports Psychology Podcast. I'm your host, Georgia Miller, giving athletes and performers simple tools and game changing perspectives to help elevate their performance. Thanks for tuning in. Grace and I are continuing our Miller sibling series, and we're going to be talking about the benefits of playing multiple sports, especially at a younger age, and how and when we decided on our main sport. So let's dive right into it. Grace, why don't you tell the listeners all of the sports that you played and what that looked like for you growing up?
Yeah, I got into baseball heavily growing up, like that T-ball, little league, kind of age, right? We didn't have football in our county until you were in sixth grade, I believe. So football was not accessible. It just wasn't set up. So played baseball, played basketball, eventually got to football. And then as I got a little bit older, I got into track. So track and then football ended up being my primary focus by my senior year of high school. But I kept baseball in the picture till my junior year of high school, and basketball got dropped around ninth grade, I believe. So kept, the three I played for a very long time.
Yeah. So what do you feel like the benefits were for you by playing baseball and basketball and then eventually picking up track along with football? What benefits did you see through that?
It depended on, which part of my life I was in. But when I was playing, the spring was baseball, you'd roll through the summer into then football, winter basketball. It really helped. One, you're always on the same routine, even if it's the different sports. You were going to school, you were going to practice, you were going to games, right? As a young kid, that's unbelievable. You don't always love it, but you don't realize the habits that you're building at 10 that are going to carry with you into 21, 25, 30 years old, being 7 years out of playing sports, right? You don't, you just keep stacking those when you're moving season to season to season. That was the biggest thing. I think that I came across baseball naturally first, which is, strange. Like, had a lot of success there. I was too much of a kind of a hothead for baseball there. I would just get so upset at a game of failure. I'd get upset at failures, right? So learned how to keep that mellow there for a while as I got a little bit older. And basketball, I had no natural ability in, but absolutely none. But it taught me to not be comfortable and then to really, really try to learn something, right? Like, I had to do that with basketball. I didn't have a natural jump shot. I couldn't dribble the ball like the other kids. I just couldn't. I didn't have the confidence with it. I didn't have the skills with it. And I worked really, really hard at it. And I got to that level. So those types of things helped me. And then once I got to ninth grade, I'm still playing football this entire time. But then once I got to ninth grade with football, kind of the benefits of keeping a good perspective with baseball, really throwing your all into a sport that you don't quite recognize, all kind of accumulated within football going to ninth, 10th grade. And the gains became exponential. And so I made the decision junior year that track would be the best benefit for football, not baseball anymore. And I was lucky that I was someone who could have success in track. I wasn't just running to run. The techniques that you learn there and the explosiveness, and it all translated, all three of those sports directly impacted how I played football ultimately. And I had no expectations for how that all worked out. I would have loved, I thought I was going to be a baseball player. I got completely honest, but the skills added on ended up working towards football.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of different things there. Different conditioning levels, working different muscle groups for sure, how that carried over into football. The mental aspects too. Like you said, with my baseball players and softball players, I'm working so much on composure and how to deal with all of that failure. So even just being able to let go of a bad play in football, I'm sure that helped you with baseball. Not to highlight your lack of ability for basketball, but how much that helped you because that was like your humbling sport and it taught you what it was like to have that growth mindset and really work hard for something and achieve it. Whereas I feel like a lot of athletes who specialize at such a young age, they don't necessarily get that.
They don't go through complete failure and starting from that. Like they don't get that until they pick up golf later in life or something like that. You know what I mean? Right? Like I could have played baseball and football I was always good at football. I was always going to be better, right?
Mhm.
But my friends played basketball. The coaches wanted me to play basketball. So I tried it and I loved it. I liked it. I liked that it was so different. I was so out of my comfort zone as an athlete. And I enjoyed that. And I know that it helped me, which is I don't even know if I've ever even said that before, Georgia. It's just like you asked the question, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's that 100%.
Mhm.
Like that is, with specialization, you're obviously going to go to the sport that you're naturally gifted at. You're not gonna struggle the same way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking from a sports psychology perspective, the athletes who have specialized at age 5 and they play one sport all year round, they don't understand what that failure is like to just pick up a new sport and be bad at it and work your way up. They don't know what that feels like. So then failure with their sport now is so scary they look to avoid it and then they can get in this really timid avoidance mode when they're playing sports. It's this huge fear of failure. So it connects back to a lot of other things. There's sure it might just seem like, oh yeah, playing multiple sports is good for you physically, but mentally it teaches you so much that I don't think a lot of parents really see when they're allowing their kids to specialize at such a young age.
Yeah, I obviously that's not the reason that I'm on today, but I would, obviously I listen to you more in this. I would love to hear the psychology of these parents allowing that. It doesn't quite make sense, when you uh, let kids be kids, develop those habits, those routines. Who cares how good they are? Because nobody knows how good a kid is at anything until you're getting into high school. I mean, let's be serious, right?
And if you specialize when you're 5, just the chance to burn out at age 15 is going to be so much higher. Whereas if you were probably getting tired of baseball season and then bam, you were immediately into another sport.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely how I was. And I'm not sure how you were gonna, pair this together, but I actually can the I almost came up with this theory when I was coaching, and I don't know how true it is, and I'm sure quarterback coaches that I know that are in the college game or pro game now that would disagree. You look at 5-star quarterbacks at the high school level, and how these young men it's the most specialized position in all of sports, right? I mean, it's the most highly recognized, important position in all of sports. These kids are from 12 years old doing nothing but throwing a football. Even if they're fantastic, right? They're coming out of high school. They complete every pass. They throw 50 touchdowns. They throw 5,000 yards, and they're 6'2" and they got big arms and all that. They have completely maxed out their athletic ability for the sport of football. It doesn't matter if they have Vince Lombardi there to coach them. They have their ceiling has been hit because they didn't even experiment to get their bodies right into another phase to take their bodies or their minds and do another level. They are just completely maxed out in the sport. And you see that now, especially now more than ever in college football, how many of these quarterbacks transfer around thinking they need to play right away, but they go somewhere else that they don't play because they're as good as they're ever going to be. There's no getting better. And it's not a shot at specialized quarterbacks. I get what the position entails. I'm just saying, like, you see that so much, and what's a great example, George? Patrick Mahomes played
I was
three
just gonna
sports,
say, yeah.
and he's like, I didn't even know, like, I was just throwing the ball in high school. I didn't even really learn anything, and now look, right? I mean, I get professional parents, things like that, but that's an exaggerated stance. But I mean, seriously, like That's what I always think of. And I think everyone who's played sports, especially high school sports, can probably relate to that in some fact of what the other sport did for them as they were coming up.
Yeah. I've never met an athlete who said they regretted playing multiple sports, but I have met so many that have said I regret specializing at such a young age. And I
Right.
think a lot of parents don't let their kids play multiple sports because they feel like their child is going to fall behind. And that's just simply not the case. If you are athletic, you will pick it up. There's so many different examples of athletes who have picked up their main sport in high school and ended up being like an all-American. I just started working with a volleyball player, and he didn't start playing till like his junior year of high school, and now he is up for all these awards in college.
It's the classic thing. If you are good enough, they will find you.
Yeah.
And coaches are not looking for the most technically savvy kids in high school in terms of, I know this isn't recruiting, but like they're looking for the athlete they can best mold into their team who's going to grow into their program, right? That's what they're looking for. So to not have those multiple sports and skills and such is definitely a disadvantage.
Well, and I'm thinking of another benefit. It just broadens your social circle, and you get a lot of different experience from a lot of different coaches. And you get to see how a lot of different teammates interact with each other. A great example is I was just working with a track athlete, and she had a lot of performance anxiety before her races. And then she picked up volleyball like her sophomore year of high school. And she was like, oh, this is what fun is supposed to be like. And these are what nice and supportive teammates are. And once she got a little taste of that, she goes into track season, and it was so much easier for her to relax a little bit and also let go of any negativity from teammates because she was like, that's not how it's supposed to be. So it broadens your perspective, and which can really help you in your main sport.
Without a doubt. And yeah, all different kids, different coaches, different styles, all of that is 100% a benefit for the high school or middle school or elementary school athlete, whatever it is, right?
So, okay, last question. What made you choose football? Because I know you mentioned you were going to be a baseball player forever. So,
Yeah.
what was like the deciding factor for football for you?
It honestly, it came back to a high school coach. And when I was in ninth grade, and telling me, you are good enough to be a Division I football player. And at that time, I thought I was better at baseball. And I was kind of surprised. And, but when he told me that, it just stuck with me. And when I went into camp in my sophomore year for football, all of a sudden I was competing at an extremely high level, and against the seniors, juniors, kids in my class that I had been better then, but now it was like getting leaps and bounds, right? It was getting expedited. And when I went into track, I decided to give up baseball after my sophomore year, and the techniques and the speed that I picked up in that track season that translated immediately into football, I knew every time I was getting on the football field, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was as simple as that. And it's not going to be that way. Some kids are able to, kind of excel at the same pace in all their sports. But it just started going so much faster in football for me than the other sports that I just had to do it. The choice was easy by that point.
Mhm.
And track being, football season's so long, it went till December almost every season that I was playing high school football, and then track picks up, by February. So it's really just a month that you have downtime. And so that schedule worked for me in high school.
Well, how I decided to play one sport is I played soccer all the way up until ninth grade, and I was for sure set on soccer. I played volleyball in middle school, and so I was doing the whole double days, like soccer practice, going right into volleyball practice. And yeah, and I came home, and what did I say?
You literally just looked at mom and you said, I don't like running. And she's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like running. And I can remember like mom cracking up and be like, okay, that's okay. You don't have to like running. You can play
Yeah,
volleyball.
I think volleyball tryouts were like the next morning, and I was like, I'm going to volleyball. And
Yeah, and that was that. It was all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah,
You're full in. You liked it a lot more for sure. I mean,
yeah, I
it
did.
wasn't even close.
Yeah. And so I wish we had something like more concrete for athletes, but honestly, it's kind of when you know, you're probably enjoying that sport more. It's probably a little bit easier for you, comes a little more natural. So, yeah, those are all simple things, simple signs to tell you that, yeah, that's probably going to be your main sport.
It's an easy decision. Yeah,
Yeah.
for those multiple sport athletes, like it hits you in the face of when when you know what sport it's going to be. You know everything you do is a little bit easier. Every what you like going and getting better every single day. Yeah, that's not going to exist for three different sports. As you get into your older years of of high school. Like for me, I was obsessed with going to the football field. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I By the time I was a junior, I didn't want to go to the batting cages anymore and hit baseballs. So um, it, it shows itself pretty clearly, and you
Mhm.
just got to trust it once you do know.
Yeah, your love starts to grow out of some sports and grows greater for other sports. So,
That's right.
in summary, we're saying playing multiple sports is such a good thing physically for you, mentally for you, socially for you. It just sets your future self up for so much more success. So, thank you again, Grayson, for your valuable input on today's episode. And if you guys want more help with deciding between one sport, just more help across multiple sports, mental performance wise, please feel free to reach out to my email, Georgia at rootedsportspsychcoach.com. And we look forward to hearing you on the next episode.